I was certainly in a mindset where I was trying to think of anything I could to make this a more attractive place to work, just make it more appealing.
I am joined by Reid Spice, COO of Sierra Meadows, coming to us from, I think, Ahwahnee, California.
That's right.
Beautiful Ahwahnee, California. It's very nice up there.
It is, and 101 today. So nice, toasty summer day.
Yes, I'm in Houston, so it's a little wetter here, but it's hot.
Yeah, it's 23% humidity, so not too bad, but still triple digits.
Yeah, we're like 100.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about digital tipping. Why don't you describe for us the challenge you faced before you went to a digital tipping solution?
You know, some of the challenges, obviously, when we started, this was April of 2021. Were, labor crunch at the time. We were, seeing all the same headlines that everybody else was about service industry jobs and struggling to hire and retain, et cetera. And so I was certainly in a mindset where I was trying to think of anything I could to make this a more attractive place to work, just make it more appealing. And obviously, number one for everybody is just going to be more money. And, up until that point, we had collected tips in the cabins. We have 27 cabins that we rent here. And then they just pooled the tips, and every month or so kind of divide them up. It was pretty loose. And it wasn't a ton of money. And so when we started doing this, to me, it felt like it solved a variety of problems. It solved the problem of, I want to tip, but I don't have the right denomination. I only have $3, and that seems almost worse than not tipping, or whatever it is. Maybe I don't have cash. Maybe I'm traveling internationally. I only have credit cards. I'm trying to, avoid cash, or you just forget, and then you're gone, and that's it. And so this solves a lot of those problems, and does it elegantly and very quickly. That was probably the thing that was the biggest selling point to me, was when they sent me the demo QR code. I was able to, with an iPhone, pull up that site, comment, rate the service, and tip in about 30 seconds with Apple Pay. And that frictionless experience was really big for me, because, I'll be honest, I don't have any experience in the hospitality industry. I've never worked at a hotel. I've never, run a hotel. So our whole philosophy since the day one here has been, what would I want as a customer? I've obviously stayed in hotels, I've stayed in Airbnbs, et cetera. So, and so that really fit in with that kind of philosophy. Was, this is how, if I were a guest, this is how I would want it to work. I'd want it to be really quick, really easy, simple, and get the job done. And that's exactly what that UTIP experience was, really right out of the gate from the very first test I did with it.
So what kind of results have you experienced since you took this on?
But yeah, we've seen about, I think around 15% of guests are tipping, which is pretty good, at least on the digital side. I don't really track the cash, to be honest with you. That there is some cash still coming in, but it's not a lot. I think the last I heard from my GM was we got, I want to say $90 in the past month, which is about a little less, probably maybe 20% of what we're collecting from UTIP on a monthly basis. So
this is housekeeping, right?
Yeah, strictly housekeeping. Well, not entirely. That's not totally true. So the way that I set this up was basically, I take the total amount, I take 85% of that amount, and I divide that up among the housekeeping staff based on how many hours everybody worked. Then the remaining 15% I divide among my lodging managers, because those folks are responsible for inspections. So after housekeeping's finished, lodging manager comes in, inspects every single cabin, And so obviously there's a level of quality control that they're responsible for as well. And so I wanted to get them involved in this program so that they have a little incentive, skin in the game to do a good job as well.
In the housekeepers and the inspectors, have they embraced digital tipping?
Well, yeah, I mean, it just means more money for them. They don't have to do anything extra. So they're enthusiastic about that, certainly. And it varies obviously, but it typically adds about $1 an hour. So I think most of our housekeepers are in the $17 to $21 an hour range, and so adding another $1 an hour to that that doesn't actually cost me anything is that's a big win. It just helps put a little more money in their pocket, and that's going to keep people happy. I can't point only to UTIP as the reason, but we've had great retention here through the pandemic. Through the last 2 years, we've only lost 2 employees on the housekeeping team, and one of them actually came back. So let's call it a net of one lost in 2 years. So we've done other things. We've added benefits and paid out some bonuses, and added some other perks and just increase that hourly rate, the base rate. So we've done a lot of things to try to keep folks around, but I've been super happy again after seeing all the headlines about service industry jobs and the struggle that so many places are having. We have not had that problem at all, and UTIP is certainly part of that. Part of the reason why, I think.
So tell us about the ratings and the comments that you get.
Yeah, so when we started, we did a scale of 1 to 5. And I, after, I don't know, maybe a month or two, I think I changed that to 1 to 10. It's a more granular scale, obviously by definition. And it just, when all your scores tend to be 4s and 5s, it just gets you a little more granularity if all the scores tend to be 8, 9s, and 10s. You just get a little bit better picture. That said, our average score is pretty astronomical, which is great, and it's a reflection of the quality of the work that the team does. But yeah, I just felt like that would give us a little bit more. Instead of a 4 to a 5, we've got a 9 or a 10 or an 8. It just gives us a little bit more to work with. We'd almost never seeing low scores, and I mean, I guess it makes sense when you think about it. If someone's taking the time to tip, that's probably because they thought somebody did a good job. If they thought they did a horrible job, then they'd probably just not tip, and then we wouldn't get a rating anyway. But obviously, we get a lot of that back through OTAs, through their rating system as well, and that kind of just backs up that the housekeeping staff is really tremendous here.
Yeah.
So,
do you find most people who are tipping are rating also?
Yes, I would say almost all of them are rating. Maybe, and this is just off the top of my head, anecdotally, I would say maybe 15% comment, 20%, somewhere in there. Actually, good thing to point out that we have one more generic link that's not tied to a cabin, and that one goes out to all guests in the automated departure email. And as I said earlier, sometimes you just forget. That's great, because then you get an opportunity that night after you left or the next day to go in and tip if you forgot, because you've got that link there in the email. And if you do it on your phone, it's that same quick, easy experience with Apple Pay or the Google Android alternative. So it's and we get a lot of tips through that generic link. That's really helpful. And we get a lot of guests who will ask us afterwards, hey, can you send me the link? I forgot to tip, and I want to tip the housekeeping staff because everything was great. So that was super helpful. And that was a suggestion from UTIP. And it has been huge. I don't know offhand what the percentage is that come through on that link, but it's high. It's probably 25% of them are on that generic link. So that's a big one.
Thanks for spending time with me.
Absolutely. Have a good weekend.
You bet.